Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Hey, it's Johnny. It's Bo here on a Football Friday, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Got some chatter in the chat. He's at Bo Brack. I'm at Johnny Venerable. And got a little nugget to talk about here, Bo Brack, as it relates to who else? The Cardinals All-Pro safety, Budda Baker. Will he or won't he show up ahead of training camp? And I think we kind of got an answer, but not really.
Yeah, not really. I mean, could it look like mini camp look like? Could it be a hold-in potentially? I mean, we can kind of go through this and really examine what Budda Baker and what his representation, his agent said today and was relaying via Good Morning Football. And we'll definitely get into that. But I think it's pointing to resolution at some point, and to the Arizona Cardinals and its heart and its soul, and Budda Baker returning to the playing field come this fall and before then, and preparing for the season, which is good for all parties involved.
Absolutely. We got some good stuff in the chat. Michael Evans, great person, yes. Great player, yes. But getting tired of the BS. I think a lot of Cardinal fans are feeling that way. The hold-ins last year really left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And I was watching, not to call it the team site, I was watching a video from the team site with Craig Graylew and Danny Surek and Darren Urban.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Danny Surek who said, I don't expect a hold-in. I can't imagine that's not what happens unless he gets a new contract. I mean, what we saw during minicamp and mandatory camp before the break that we're in right now was, he was on the sideline, he was hanging out with his team members, and he wasn't practicing. He was in his bare feet walking around, right? He was engaged with his teammates. But I mean, like, anybody who feels like he's going to be padded up, running around out there, being the number 3 that we all know and love, without a little bit more in his pocket, how does that benefit Budda Baker? He's already taken this stance. He asked to be traded. Now he wants to be paid fairly. And we knew it was about money from the jump. And it's like, what good does it do him to not continue to try to use the leverage that he has by sitting on the sideline?
Yeah. And you know, Budda Baker has alluded to the Arizona Cardinals and him coming to some sort of resolution, not like a full-on extension, and him securing the bag over again as the top paid safety. And you know, Mike Garafolo said that much, and we'll get into what he said. But I think that, you know, there is time. Like, we know Jonathan Gannon, as he said, he was going to take this time. He's celebrating his 10th wedding anniversary with his wife. He's going across water. I believe that's the way he described his trip. He's out of the country. And then you got Monty Ossenford, who told us he was going to Minnesota for a couple days, maybe weeks this summer. So are they working on it like right now? Right now, probably not. But there's going to be time between training camp and now that they can iron out the details of this. And I think we've talked about this a lot. And in this, we might be part of Michael Evans, you know, getting tired of the Budda Baker story. But, you know, that's what you get by having a daily podcast that covers the Cardinals, is we're going to talk about it until there's a resolution. But it's been like the D-Hop thing. It started, you know, fairly early in the offseason, and it hasn't been prioritized. And I understand that, right? I mean, Monty Ossenford, he had a big job to take care of in cleaning up this mess and getting this organization primed and prepared for the upcoming season and beyond. And it took a lot of heavy lifting, and as far as prioritizing a guy that is under contract for the next 2 seasons, I just don't think that was top priority. And I think there was the expectation, like, look, we understand your frustration, but be a little patient. And I know that, you know, you're trying to leverage a deal here, as our guy Brad Spielberger said, get, you know, your few bites at the apple while you can. And they're going to do that, and they're going to listen, and I think they're going to negotiate something in the form of a restructure. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's hear what Mike Garafolo said today on Good Morning Football. He was talking with Budda Baker's agent and texting back and forth with him all show long, and this is what he told us.
He doesn't want to be the highest paid safety. He never said that. Now, the highest paid safety right now is Derwin James, who I think is a David client, if I'm not mistaken.
He is.
19 million and change for him. Right now, Budda Baker is 9th. This is a 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time or 3-time All-Pro. So David Mulugeta continued and said he just wants to be paid fairly for what he brings to the table. He told the team before the season started that he wanted to go play for a contender. He didn't want to be part of a rebuild. And he said his agent, David is his agent, so he's quoting himself in the third person. His agent believes it's time the Cardinals extend Budda if they believe that he is a long-term part of their future plans. So it's an under-the-radar storyline, and it should be on the radar, so we'll see how this goes as training camp approaches. Again, Budda Baker, who was there for minicamp, said he will be there for training.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Austin Ford, it's less about the money at this point, and it's more about the precedent, because we've said this all along. They've got, what, $25 million in cap. Kick them an extra $5 million, and let's ride. Let's buckle up into the 2023 season. It's not our money. Cardinals, they don't need an extra $5 million next year in free agency to roll over. I think it's the principle of the thing. I like the longer this goes, because I was with you after, mini camp and mandatory camp in early June, when you were out there with the Cardinals and you saw Budda's engagement on the side. I'm like, this is going to get done. Something's going to happen with Budda Baker, and we're going to be able to have a nice break here before the start of the season. Nothing's happening, and they're putting that out there for a reason. You got to believe his agents putting that out there with Mike Galafaro and company, like, hey guys, we would like for something to get done, because prepare for something similar that you just experienced. And I think this is Austin Ford saying, like, I don't play ball like Steve Keim. Steve Keim, who bent to the knee for Marcus Golden and DJ Humphries last year for new deals that did not turn out well for the Cardinals, at least in 2023. I know Humphries is back, but it's a bad contract. I mean, and so I don't think Budda Baker is in their wheelhouse. And I think that's why it's especially frustrating for fans, is you want number 3 repping the bird on the helmet this fall, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter who you are. This is Austin Ford's stance, and they are breaking bad habits. And I'm sure that Michael Bidwell has a say into this too. It's just like, we got pulled around by players in the past, and I'm all for player empowerment, especially when you're as productive as Budda Baker. But I also understand that this franchise has been so dysfunctional for so long under Steve Keim. They have to set some boundaries and some guidelines for players. And for Budda Baker to come out as brash as he was through his agency, saying, I want to trade right before the draft, trade me. I don't want to be here. And to kind of walk it back at this point, but give me a little bit more money. I'm with the folks that I mentioned, like Derrick Henry got a new deal, but it wasn't ugly. I mean, that we forget, because we were wrapped up in draft season, we were focusing on the prospects. That was ugly. That was not a good period for the Cardinals and Budda Baker. And I wonder if there's just some difficult feelings to overcome. And I go back to that original point where I'm not going to tell Budda what to do. Go get your money, but Austin Ford and Gannon had barely been on the job, and you had Budda Baker asking for more money. That's a tough look.
It's a tough look, but it sometimes is necessary, and it's the business side of football. And we saw it with Kyler Murray. It played out, and the team obliged the kind of public forum to sling mud between both parties, and it was brutal. And at the end of the day, it didn't work out for both. I mean, it worked out for Kyler Murray and his representation, that they signed $230.5 million contract with a lot of guarantees, right? But as far as moving forward in the public perception of Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, it wasn't great. I think this has played out a little different. Like, there's been no statement from Budda Baker's representation, but there have been statements with, Budda Baker not being there all the way up until minicamp, and then being at minicamp and being there but not available to practice with his teammates. I think that this is just, you see even the most beloved players sometimes have their hand forced and try to create leverage whenever possible. And this just happens to be it. I mean, he's 27 years old. He said he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. He wants to play on a contending team. He's been a part of this organization since 2017 and been on one winning team. And he's done nothing but what's been asked of him and beyond. And I think that the Arizona Cardinals, they do need to be in the business of rewarding players that do everything right, and the players that even transcend the playing field. So it's a balance, right? And I think I've gotten the sense that, I understand, look, they're not going to lock Budda Baker into this lucrative deal that's going to make him once again the top paid safety, but are they going to float him some money to maybe keep him happy and reward him and show that he's valued to this organization? I think that that's very realistic. And when you look at, like I said, the priority list of what they had to kind of go through this offseason, and if you even just to use the previous regime, which is rarely a good example, is like there is a hierarchy of the priorities, right? And Kyler Murray was ahead of DJ Humphries, and DJ Humphries was ahead of Marcus Golden. And I think Budda Baker is somewhere like his time is coming between now and training camp. And I would feel pretty confident that they get something ironed out. But we did get a little nugget from Mike Garafolo as we've been talking about this for over a month. And this is one of the things that I thought was an option, and it's already been done. This is per Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. He tweeted out about Budda Baker. Point of clarification on my clip from earlier, Budda Baker has 2 years left on his deal, and we knew that, right? We talk about it all the time, but the 2024 season was an option year. The Cardinals have already picked that up.
Wow.
So they've locked him in beyond this season. So they didn't wait around for that. That deal's done. He's under contract with the Arizona Cardinals for the next 2 seasons, so that's basically set up. Now, do they want to start maybe giving him more financial security and guaranteeing some money in the 2024 year, which really doesn't have anything? Maybe that's an option for him.
And what are they going to do? Outright cut Budda Baker after this year? I don't think that's an option. So I think this gives him some security. I really do. I know that he would rather hit free agency sooner rather than later, have another franchise pay him. But I think this is substantial because, again, if you're Budda Baker, with or without a new contract now, you've got 2 years left. And if the Cardinals choose to cut you, which they won't, the Cardinals aren't cutting Budda Baker. They're not going to be in a position where even with his cap pickup of next year, I'd have to double check on overthecap.com, Bo. It's under $20 million for a team that's going to have $100 million to spend in free agency. Like, are they going to, if they cut Budda Baker, there's no dead money associated with that, but that's just like him hitting free agency. Right? That he can go out and play for another team if he wants to. I guess the only, kind of asterisk to that is he doesn't have any guarantees in 2024. Right? So if he doesn't have any guarantees in 2024, if he gets hurt this year, then he sets himself up to not have any guaranteed dollars coming his way after becoming injured. And I think, to your point, Bo, that's probably the point of contention. Yeah. How much money can they guarantee in 2024? But if, who picked up that option? Did Ossenford pick up that option? Did Steve Keim pick up that option before he was gone? When did that happen? Because if it was Ossenford, then I would call BS on Monty Ossenford. Monty, you're picking this up next year. Let's give the guy a little bit of security. You want him on the team. Otherwise, you would leave it open-ended. But if it was Steve Keim that says, no brainer, we're going to pick up the option, which again is crazy that just came out today, because we had kind of been highlighting that piece of, well, will they or won't they pick up his option? After not, opting to give him more money, we were on the side for a little bit of, he won't be around next year.
Right.
And if they don't pick up his option, he can hit free agency and they can get a comp pick. So very interesting note by Gallerfollow there.
Yeah. His base salary in 2024 is just $14.2 million. He got a prorated bonus of just under $4 million, and both this season and the next season, there's no guaranteed salary. I mean, he's got a cap number 16.8 and 17.9 over the next 2 seasons, which is 7% of the cap. I think that's as far as when you ask an NFL player in a cap league, what's the ultimate sign of respect? And it's guaranteed money. And for a player to be sitting there without any, despite, where he stands as far as the rankings as far as where he's the highest compensated player at his position, that's all well and good, but they're looking for their next guaranteed, because especially at such a violent position as safety. And if Budda Baker plays at the style that he plays, and he goes out there and he launches himself into an opposing running back, and he's out for the rest of the year, and then the Cardinals just decide to say, you're gone. He's got no financial insurances after that. I think that's at least what the Arizona Cardinals can do, over the next 2 seasons and maybe add something on the back end of that, maybe an extra year, and give him some sort of financial security. I mean, I think that's the least they could do.
Yeah. Well, we've been saying that since the beginning. And I come back to nothing that they do with Budda Baker is going to hamper them cap-wise, especially now that they picked up his option. Like, he's in the fold. He's an Arizona Cardinal right now on the books for the next 2 years, pending, something unforeseen. Now, you could say the same thing about, Zach Ertz's contract runs through 2024, James Conner, and we all expect those players potentially to be one and done under Austin Ford and Gannon, but we don't know that definitively. But I will say, like, Budda Baker, if it's Austin Ford that picked up the option, I'd love to know that, Bo, if he's made available during training camp. I'm sure you and the rest of the media are going to ask, like, okay, you picked up his option, like, now what? If he really is part of the future, and maybe we get resolution before then. But I think fans would love resolution too. I know, people are allowed to have their own opinion on this. And again, the Cardinals do not deserve the benefit of the doubt for very much lately, on and off the field. But I will back Austin Ford to the mindset of, I watched my predecessor kind of get walked over by players during the end of his tenure. Like, I can't set that precedent. I have to be able to say, hang tight. We're not doing this. I'm not going to be dictated by agents. I mean, if you missed it, it's just how stone cold of a killer he was during that first round of the NFL draft. I can't imagine what he's like to negotiate contracts with. And we mentioned this earlier, Bo. He has not given out a real contract yet. Like, the contracts that they signed, with all due respect, in March were not real contracts. Those were, hey, I want to play for your team. Okay, we'll see if you can stick around through, training camp, outside of Kazir White, which was a John Gannon, recommendation. Right. Everybody else was, we could cut you in a second and it wouldn't matter against the cap, right? Maybe you'll make it through training camp. Maybe you'll be on the team. He has not gone out and said, here's a bunch of guaranteed dollars to X player for 2023, 2024, 2025, what have you. And I think that it's his mindset right now is, I'm not going to be told when and how to spend our money.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, right? Is it bad timing for Budda Baker, who certainly has earned this respect, no matter who the general manager is, or who the head coach is, or what's going on and off the field. It's a guy that's just done his job. But when we talk about setting a precedent at some point, like there's a lot we don't know about Monty Ossenfort, the general manager. I mean, there's a lot to like so far. I mean, you mentioned just the Bulldog that was in the draft war room, and that was just, getting deals done on the phone, moving up and down the draft board, accumulating assets and getting their guy in Paris Johnson Jr. in the first round. And then even beyond that, and trading down and getting BJ Ojulari in the second round and accumulating more picks. Like, he's a stone cold killer, but we don't know like what he looks like negotiating big deals with bringing guys to this team, keeping guys in the organization. There is going to be a time where he sets the precedent. There is going to be a time that he's going to reward a player for his performance on and off the field. We still don't know what it looks like trading players either for picks or trading players for other players. There's still a lot we haven't learned about Monty Ossenfort that are key parts of being a successful general manager in this league.
Yeah. And you know what, at the end of the day, Budda Baker, his legacy, I think, is cemented as an Arizona Cardinal. And so had they dealt him, had they cut him, had they released him, should they give him more money? Like, I don't think Budda has anything left to prove. Because when you're drafted by Steve Keim and you're part of the dysfunction that was 2017, 2018, 2019, right? And you had a brief period of success for about a year and a half. And then you go back into disarray last year, and he's the only glue guy outside of JJ Watt, who no one questions his loyalty. He's got a new contract every time he sneezes, right? And it's like Budda Baker probably looks at that. It's like, why am I being discriminated against? Because I play safety. At the end of the day, my value to the Cardinals probably means more even to like a team like the Chargers with Derwin James. I'm the heartbeat of this franchise. And I think he's got a point there. I've always been of that mindset that his contributions to the Cardinals go beyond the stat sheet, right? And the Cardinals have so few great players. Why are you making it difficult with one singular player? It's just bad timing. It's really bad timing because the Cardinals have been enabled by people with bad habits that are no longer, thankfully, a part of the organization. So you've got a new GM that's trying to carve out his own path and not enabling some of the prior bad habits by the prior regime, right? And then you've got an all-pro safety who thinks it's time for more money, right? I mean, it just had Budda Baker, had the wherewithal in hindsight, he probably would have tried to attack this last offseason with Steve Keim at the helm and say, hey, Steve, it's time to restructure my deal. He probably would have gotten paid, right?
Right.
But the Cardinals were projected to be a playoff team, and Kingsbury and Keim had just gotten extensions. And he's probably like, oh, no, I need to get my money. And there are new people involved. Maybe he saw the Cardinals as vulnerable. But in hindsight, I mean, when you're cutting Budda, DeAndre Hopkins for nothing in return and paying him $21 million to go away, that tells you Monty's sending a message to everybody. And we put it out after that happened. Unless you are a rookie or on a rookie deal making no money, I mean, anything could happen to you. You could be released. You could be traded. And unfortunately, that's the same thing goes for Budda Baker. I hope they get something done, but I'd be lying to you, everybody in this chat, that I thought they'd have something done by now. I thought we'd get to July. It'd be remedied. We could focus on football. And again, the fact that this is still in the news cycle tells me Budda's people want it to be kept in the news cycle.
I think that as far as the timing, why hasn't it been done yet? I mean, overall, like it's we need it now world we live in. I think that's part of it. I mean, they broke mandatory minicamp a couple weeks ago, and we're 4 weeks away from training. But did it feel
like we had momentum at that point, though? Austin Ford and Gannon came out and said, we're talking. We're having conversations.
Yeah, Gannon was like, hey, we'll get Budda out there when we get him out there. He's dealing with the business side of things.
Right.
And that seems like, there's at least discussions going on, but for Garofalo to be getting text messages from Budda Baker's agent, to your point from earlier, like it seems like the agent is saying, hey, we're still waiting here. We're still waiting, and we're looking for what Budda's asking and requesting is a fair deal. He doesn't want to be the highest paid safety, not looking to try to put himself atop any kind of earnings list, but he wants something fair. And when we talk about fairness in this day and age, as far as the NFL, it's guaranteed dollars. In 2023 and 2024, Budda Baker has as much as you and I have.
Go get your money. Get your money, Budda. Get your money, folks, with BetMGM bonus bets. BetMGM, of course, the home of PHNX Cardinals this fall at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. Every single football Sunday, it'll be myself, Bo Brack, the entire PHNX Cardinals crew. We're hanging out post-game, halftime show. And in the meantime, check out the BetMGM bonus bets starting Friday, June 23rd. So it's been happening for a hot minute all throughout the course of the summer. BetMGM players will receive a bonus bet upon logging into the sportsbook every single Friday for the next 3 weeks. Have it ready on your smart device. Claim period extends through the weekend. You've got a 72-hour claim period and then 72 hours to get that bonus bet in. See, they give you some time now, but it will disappear after 72 hours. So again, log in and claim it. Do not wait, and don't wait right now to download the BetMGM app. Use that bonus code PHNX. Now, there's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our folks in Arizona, place your first bet, and you're going to get an offer to receive up to $1,000 in bonus bets back if you lose it. Again, that's with your first bet with BetMGM. Make sure you're using that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to our guy, Shane Diefenbach, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Let's cheers to it being Friday here, Football Friday, and let's cheers with the delicious Four Peaks. Can't go wrong with any of the wide array of Four Peaks beers that they brew right there on location, 8th Street in Tempe. Check it out. It's the official beer of PHNX Sports, the flagship kilt lifter. Goes so hard. Summer months, I'm a big Wow wheat beer guy because it's so refreshing. It's great for the poolside. If you're an IPA guy or gal, they got so many IPAs for you. They got the Raj, they got the Hop Nut. Can't go wrong with any of those. Of course, they're just churning out just different beers. Like they had the green tea lager in October. It's going to be here before you know it. I think at the end of August, they're going to start to release the pumpkin porter, which is so delicious. Can't wait for that. And you got to be locked into their social media for different events like that. When are they going to drop the beer? They'll let you know at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub on Twitter and Instagram. You can get in on some great contests. Like they gave away some Diamondback tickets at one point. It was D-backs 4 seats from Four Peaks. They're helping out teachers. You got to be in on all of this about Arizona's favorite craft brewery, Four Peaks, on your socials. And of course, checking them out online at fourpeaksbrewingco.com. And you got to be 21 years old when you drink it. You got to also drink it responsibly.
Free matter for the blind. I have a gambling problem. I should have bet the Cardinals in 2021, not 2022. Listen, join the club. We were on this show upteen times last year saying, you know what, I think probably bet the over. I think the over was like 8.5. I'm that's safe. The NFC is so bad. They'll sleepwalk their way to 9 wins. They're too talented, right? Turns out it's a tough watch. Tough watch watching the Redbirds lose 7 in a row.
We would have, Old Takes Exposed would have crushed us, crucified us after what we were gearing people up for the 2022 season, which ended up in just 4 wins. Yeah, 4-13. But look, I think it was a necessary evil to kind of put it into Steve Keim's reign of this organization, and then also get rid of Cliff Kingsbury, who seemed like he was just overmatched by the end of it. Get some fresh eyes on this for the first time in nearly 3 decades. They get the GM and Monty Ossenfort in, Bossenfort, and then you get Jonathan Gannon, who seems like he's a rising star as far as a head coach. I mean, we still got a lot. You know, I talk about what we haven't seen from Monty so far due to him kind of having to clean up the mess. Still has a lot to prove as a GM. So does Jonathan Gannon on the playing field. But as does quarterback Kyler Murray. We're excited to see what Kyler Murray is going to look like in a new offense, Johnny.
Yeah, we're excited not to read any more offseason lists that have Kyler Murray behind Daniel Jones. But in light of that, Bo Brock, you know, Kyler Murray's swing rate for this year, not his baseball swing, but the swing in terms of how many games he plays, could go anywhere. And I think that's why our friends at BetMGM, among other sports books, they're not putting him on there because no one really knows. It's one of the great mysteries, right, of the NFL season. When will Kyler Murray return? And again, if you ask a novice fan, he's not coming back this year. That's a big reason why people think the Cardinals are going to have the first overall pick. However, I mean, we follow this team on a regular basis, had an opportunity to connect with Jonathan Gannon at the NFL Combine. Bo, you've talked with him since. They're going to use kid gloves on K1, but anytime you see his workout videos, he's engaged, he's out on the practice field. What would you deem a successful season for Kyler Murray to look like? I want everybody to give their opinions in the chat, but I'm going to pose it first to my co-host here. At the end of 2023, the end of the 2023 NFL season, if everybody's like, yeah, Kyler's our guy, what a great year, a success, what would Kyler Murray have had to have done, Bo Brock, for you to have said that?
I think the number one thing for Kyler Murray is finish the season from the point he returns to the end of it, because we haven't seen Kyler Murray stay consistently healthy. So coming off the serious knee injury, get in there, don't deal with an ankle injury, don't deal with a hamstring like he did last year that also took him out of action. When he gets back in the lineup, stay in the lineup from there on forward. And if he can play, 10 to 11 games, you look at what Jacoby Brissett did in the Browns offense. You have to look at that and then inflate those numbers. You got to be way better than what Jacoby Brissett did, which was like 66% completion percentage, like 2,600 yards. I think he had like 12 touchdowns to 6 picks and over 200 yards rushing. So take those numbers and put them on steroids like it's the 98 baseball season, inflate those a little bit. He's got to be somewhere like close to 3,000 yards passing. He's a much more accurate passer, so probably 68%. And then, I think like anywhere from 16 to 20 passing touchdowns is realistic if he's playing from 10 to 11 football games next year.
Yeah, I think I echo all that. I would say I put a number on it. What is he laughing at? Laughing at this.
I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. We signed so many free agents an hour ago. I don't even know what to do right now, Johnny.
I hate that, man. It's like, can we
get
it
in our face? We're sitting on our hands basically all off season until draft night. and they
We threw
can't go a
effing
day without
party over
breaking news
Kazir.
from the Suns beat.
You would have thought we won the Super Bowl when Kazir White joined this team, and they get an All-Star every other day. Not they, we love the Suns. We're happy for them, but come on, guys, like, when's our time? When's our time to shine? Well, Kyler Murray. Listen, I echo your comments. I mean, 3,000 yards passing, I think, is a lot, especially given new offense and an offense that I don't think is going to throw a ton. If he plays 12 games, which means he would miss 5 weeks, I think that is a huge, fat, roaring success, no matter really what the on-field product looks like. Because I don't ever remember a time in Kyler's career when he was just outright bad. He's had some mediocre stretches. He's been okay, and then he's been good to great to elite. So I think if you get 12 weeks of Kyler Murray, that's a home run. I mean, if let's say 2/3 of the season is probably a better way for me to articulate it. So, 11, 12 games, because I think at that point, if Kyler Murray plays double-digit games this year, they're not drafting Caleb Williams, because I think they're just going to be too competitive with Kyler Murray.
Unless it's the Texans pick, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's when things get really dicey. What if Kyler Murray, what if the team starts 1-5, and he misses 6 games, and Kyler comes back in 11 games, he goes 5-6, overachieves, plays almost 500 ball, and they're 6-11. I mean, that would be very tempting for them to say, well, let's run it back with K1.
Yeah, no, it's, but you're still looking at it like, okay, you've got this business wise. Does it make sense to? And I think Kyler Murray becomes a better asset, right? At that point, he opens people's eyes again, shows that he can play, and he can elevate a team. I think that there's so many quarterback hungry teams out there that it still doesn't get him out of the woods as far as continuing on as their franchise signal caller, but it gives you more confidence. Like, I know 3,000 yards seems like it's far fetched, but I mean, that would be an 11-game clip. I mean, that's just over 270 yards. He's around 250 per game. And I think in a more run-heavy offense, that it's probably on the lower side, like 2,700 yards passing. But I mean, when you think about where he can improve just by playing in maybe a more efficient offense that's going to have better balance. I mean, he's not going to, like, if they stack the box to slow down the run, then Kyler Murray becomes a deadly passer once again, and he's obviously going to have more big plays than he had last year. I mean, if you look at his numbers, and his passing numbers were way down, just 2,300 passing yards in the 11 games that he played, and there were just no big plays. And that's going to be so important for Petzing to put him in a position to hit on some big plays, especially when defenses creep up to slow down the run game.
Yeah, Kyler just hasn't had the benefit of a consistent run game ever. I mean, he is the run game in a lot of seasons. I'm going to tell you right now, Sly, can you trade K1 for another first rounder in 2024? Really just kind of depends, but it's kind of my next point, or my next question I'm going to pose to everybody, because I think this season has a chance to be one of the more interesting layered seasons we've ever had. Because if you start slow and Kyler is available, but you're really struggling, like how quickly are you to break glass in case of emergency? Or how quickly are you just to say, hey, K1, we might ride this out because this is trending in a certain direction and it's just not going to benefit anybody. I think Kyler Murray is good enough to win games by himself. Can he do that though in a new offense coming off a torn ACL? What happens with this team, Brack? And this is not gloom and doom. I think this is fascinating. Yeah. What if they're 0-7? They're 0-7. It's late October. Are you ready just to trot out Kyler Murray, or do you eat it for 10 more games and keep Kyler Murray sidelined?
I don't know I don't think this coaching staff is capable of eating it. I don't know if Kyler Murray is capable of eating it. Like, you could push it maybe a couple more weeks, right? And that would probably translate to a couple more losses, right? But as far as keeping him out of the lineup and JG not putting him in the lineup, I don't think that they would ever just be like, hey, we're going to shut it down for a better draft pick. And I think that this organization, the people they put in place on the coaching staff are too competitive, but also, JG said he's got to be 100% in two categories, and that's physically and mentally. And if it's not without a shadow of a doubt, they're both spots. I think that they could hesitate to put him and deploy Kyler Murray.
Who's dictating that? Whose decision is that? Because Kyler's going to want to get out there and prove everybody wrong and guns ablazing to make up for everything that's gone on in the past. Like, there's a lot of gray areas with this entirety of this scenario, and the fact that you've got a generational prospect looming just makes it all the more fascinating. I feel like I don't think Houston's going to get the first overall pick. I think there are a couple other teams in the AFC that are worse. But I think the Cardinals, and we've talked about this, Bo, like they cannot be competitive for 17 weeks with Colt McCoy, Jeff Driscoll, David Blau. Like if you're starting that caliber of player on this team, you want the number one pick, right? But if Kyler Murray comes back, that muddles the situation for that, right? I think a lot is going to be dictated, like how do they start in a weird way. Kyler Murray
for sure.
Returning,
absolutely,
like,
but
what if Colt steals 2 games in the first 6 weeks or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, and that would be ideal. But with what Jalen Blair's saying, if K1 is healthy enough to play and the Cards were 0-7, there's probably not going to be a sit out. Gannon and Monty will lose the team. And I agree with that. Like, and you're not thinking of, the guys in contract years. You're thinking about the guys you just drafted in this organization. And if you don't show fight, if you don't show that you're doing week in and week out everything you can to win football games, including putting, arguably your best player, the guy that can get you some dubs, that's going to leave a bad taste in the mouth of people that you want to develop. And they're going to remember those moments. Like, hey, we're out there trying to win football games and you guys are not. And I don't think that's a precedent. We talk about precedents, throughout this episode. That's a bad precedent to set. And in this day and age, like I guarantee Amani and JG, they've got a bit of a longer leash than most of the 31 other franchises in the league. But at the end of the day, like this is a league where you're based on your performance. And if they go 0-7 and then lay down the rest of the season and are, a 1-win team. I mean, we saw with a 3-win team, this organization say they lost the locker room. It wasn't, Wilkes just couldn't inspire anybody. We're going to pivot even after it's going to be one and done.
Yeah. I like it. All these comments here. You guys are making a lot of sense. Daniel in the chat, I've heard this a lot. If we can get the number one pick, which let's face it, we'll probably say we trade down or we take Marvin Harrison Jr. There's no guarantee that Caleb will be better than Kyler. Listen, if you listen to analysts right now, they've already got Caleb Williams as the top 5 quarterback, but you're right. I mean, we talked about Matt Leinart the other day on this show. It's like players bust all the time. And Trevor Lawrence panned out. Maybe the next great generational quarterback does not pan out. Thunder, Bo brought up this point yesterday. What if Caleb has a bad year? What if Tune has a great year? I don't know if Clayton Tune's going to play enough to constitute a great year, but we're all rooting for Clayton Tune to light it up in the preseason because that just makes things more interesting.
Yeah.
What hurts everything is if Clayton looks like a rookie and then they're just like, well, see, now we're going to go with Colt McCoy. But I'm all for chaos, man. Bring on the chaos when a team is in rebuild mode. What can make the season as interesting as possible? And I think all these factors here, but we talk about like Caleb Williams potentially regressing. I just don't think that's possible under Lincoln Riley. Maybe a different coach, but Lincoln Riley is just the secret sauce, man. How many guys has he gotten drafted, overdrafted, first overall pick, Baker Mayfield? He helped make Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. He rebuilt his career after leaving Alabama. I mean, he's one of the best, probably 3 to 5 quarterback coaches, in college football, NFL combined. So I just, outside of a horrific injury, I mean, the Pac-12 isn't the SEC. Caleb's going to look good in plenty of games, especially when he's playing some schools out west. So, yeah, I just some things would have to go so horribly wrong for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's a good problem to have. Kyler Murray has a good season. Look, Clayton Tune and his opportunities shows he's capable and plays well relative to what his role is. And Caleb Williams has a big season.
Kingsbury could be the factor. That would be very poetic, Brett. that if that happened, that Caleb's stock tumbled because of Cliff. Cliff's probably best suited to be a quarterback coach, though, offensive coordinator. Don't you think, Bo?
Yeah. I mean, don't mess. It's still got to be like Lincoln Riley still has to be the guy, like the primary voice that's going into the ears and in molding Caleb Williams needs to continue to be Lincoln Riley. And then you can have a consultant, Cliff Kingsbury, in the corner of the room that might give him some of the insight that he's had during his 4 years in the NFL. And then before that, his insight as far as Mahomes went in developing quarterbacks. And then I'm pretty sure that Cliff Kingsbury isn't going to have a very big role in Caleb Williams' junior season.
You know, it's going to be like all those offensive coordinators. Peyton Manning got promoted to head coaches. It's just like, success by association. Lincoln Riley, Caleb. I mean, it's a smart move by Cliff. I mean, if we're being real, it's just like, hey, this is Cliff's doing. It's not, but it's going to get Cliff another job, another prominent job, I would imagine at some point. Ryan, I know what you mean here. They already set, meaning the coaching staff, the GM already set a bad precedent by trading D-Hop. So they cut D-Hop, but I get what you're saying. Like I think there's some validity to that. It's like, okay, you may sit Kyler, you may not sit Kyler. That's a bad precedent. DeAndre Hopkins is a top 10 receiver in the NFL, and they told him to leave. Again, that's going to be a long time from when training camp rolls around. And maybe people have a short memory, or maybe they don't. But I get what you're saying. I don't disagree with it because again, you could spin it all you want. We're going to try to roll with young guys. If you're trying to put the best 53 men out there, you're keeping DeAndre Hopkins as a member of your team.
But for that price, I mean, no team has shown the willingness to want to pay him the amount of money.
But it's really only a difference of $9 million because you're already paying him 21 and he was going to make close to 30.
His cap was $30 million. And then, so if you cut him, if it came down to it, you traded him at the deadline, or if you kept him a second after the clock hit midnight on June 1st, it rolls over into the next offseason. So it's like, I'm sure they would have been in the conversations of keeping DeAndre Hopkins if he didn't have a $30 million cap hit, and if he didn't have a base salary of what he had. I'm sure they absolutely would have considered it, especially if there wasn't the financial ramifications cap wise beyond 2023.
I agree with Ryan though. I feel like you cut D-Hop. What else
if it's black and white, sure, but there's shades of gray, my guy.
You're Mr. Shades of Gray, 50 Shades of Gray. That is, you're Shades of Gray with your shady rays. We're going to talk about that in a second. First, I want to talk about my friends at Circle K. Listen, we're building awareness for Arizona stores and their offerings because Circle K is where it's at. Premium gas, not a premium price. Super excited. Listen, if you've been at a Circle K lately and you check out one of the pump stations and you see a PHNX Cardinals personality, or PHNX personality, I should say, that is not by mistake. We're here to provide best beer, snack, coffee selection with our friends, the premium Circle K, Premier Gas. Stock up. It's America's thirst stop. It was 103 today in the East Valley. Hydrate, please, people. Hydrate with our friends at Circle K. They're helping save you money on all of your favorite beverages. Iced coffees under $2. How great is that, right? I went to a couple fast food places lately. Now that I'm in the East Valley, I'm dabbling in some of the upper tier fast foods. And iced coffees are pushing like $5-6. So Circle K's got you covered. They're sub $2, which is what I like to see. Always go back to Old Faithful, which is Circle K. And again, you want to save even more money? Make sure you're not missing out on the exclusive SMS subscriber club. What does that mean? Text PHNX to 31310 to join the club. It's exclusive. Get in now. You get a buy one, get one free 32 ounce. That's the big boy, friends. Polar Pop. Buy one, get one free. Hydrate. Do whatever you want to do, but do it with our friends at Circle K. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find the Circle K nearest to you.
Yeah, over the weekend and into next week, celebrate freedom and celebrate 50% off. Shady Rays. Hit up their website. 50% off for their Independence Day sale that's going to be going on 50% off all shades. Yeah, that's right. You can shop for yourself. You can shop men and women. Use the code July4 and you'll get yourself a nice little deal for their Independence sale. You can get in on all the amazing sunglasses they have, classic signatures, the X series, the Navigators, Aviators, Aviator Cross. I mean, they've got the whole aviation sunglass setup just cornered pretty much. So check out Shady Rays. Get some for your kids as well. If you wear prescription lenses, they can hook you up. Blue light snow goggles. You're going to hit up the slopes in the wintertime. Why not get them from our friends over at Shady Rays and take advantage of their up to 50% off all shades on their website, shadyrays.com. And if you don't get in on their Independence Day sale, of course, you can still use that PHNX code that's going to get you you can get some money off, 50% off 2 or more pairs of premium polarized sunglasses. Make sure you're doing what over 250,000 people have rated 5 stars online at shadyrays.com.
I bought a new tank top for Tank Tuesdays off Amazon. It is, according to my wife, hideous. And
you got a hideous tank top for Tank Tuesdays?
Yeah, and she will not be seen with me in it. It is white and red striped, very Where's Waldo at? And so I'm dubbing it Where Are the Winds tank top for Tank Tuesday. So that's a little tease. Although we don't have a show on Tuesday because of the holiday. So we're going to do a Tank Monday. What are you thinking?
Oh, man. I know I'm going to be still representing Tank Tuesday on Independence Day, July 4th. It's a great day to maybe bust out a red, white, and blue tank that I don't yet own, but I sure will get my stars and stripes. Well, showing off the guns, absolutely. So I would say we're not going to probably do Tank Monday, but we'll be still tanking on Tuesday on July 4th.
Jose, tan on point, fellas. Listen, we've got the dad tans rocking and rolling right now. Everything under these clothes, though, is as white as a ghost on Halloween.
Those dungeon tans.
I would not have it any other way. I am jealous of the Phoenix Suns, though, and PHNX Suns in particular.
Who has the more elite offseason, though? The NBA or the NFL? Because I think the NFL has the offseason, the premier offseason.
They own the calendar, but I would say like free agency for NFL this year was a dud in terms of like where were the trades, where were the big ticket signings. 2 years ago was fantastic. We had the Devontae Adams trade, the Tyreek Hill trade. The NFL, I feel like this was a meh offseason. It's a good one for the Cardinals to sit out. We've been saying that, for weeks now, is one of the weakest free agency periods in terms of the talent available. I think like Javon Hargrave, who went to San Francisco, was like the number 1 free agent. He's over 30 years old. So no, the NBA, I mean, let's see some big names get dealt. Let's see this, Bradley Beal. I love Bradley Beal.
Yeah. What's the big deal? What are the big free agent deals that have happened in the NBA today? Like, oh, cool. Kyrie Irving went back to Dallas. Woo! Cool. NBA.
Did he sign there?
Yeah, like 3 for 136 or 126.
I thought he was meeting with the Suns. I thought that was happening.
He clearly did it in the 20 minutes between when the free agency opened and when he signed, right?
Very similar to 20 minutes Austin Ford and Gannon spoke and the tampering. It was the same window of time.
Who are you, Florio?
I know. I'm sorry. I got this stank of that interview from earlier this week.
The NBA draft happened. Like the NBA draft doesn't even it pales in comparison to the NFL.
It's a hard watching comparison, and again, that's why the 2024 draft. Would you say the 2024 draft for the Arizona Cardinals is going to be the biggest draft in franchise history since they've moved to Arizona? I would say that there's a chance that even more so than 2019 when they took Kyler Murray. I think 2024, the stars that are in this draft, and again, it could be torpedoed by injuries and holdouts or whatever, NIL deals this fall, and in conjunction with the amount of picks they're going to have, it's going to be the biggest 3-day event for this franchise, maybe since they went to the Super Bowl. I think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean, it could be an organization-changing draft. They could add the talent necessary to absolutely just jumpstart this rebuild. And it feels like there's the talent to do so. I mean, I know I'm saying that on the last day of June in 2023, but it really feels like when you look at the potential quarterback talent. The running back class is solid. Defensive linemen that weren't there in this draft could be their next draft. Edge rushers are solid. And then you've got a generational type wide receiver and Marvin Harrison Jr. that you're going to have not one, but two picks that could be within striking distance of getting that type of player on your roster. I mean, no, it's going to be a huge monumental draft for the Arizona Cardinals in 2024.
I read a write-up on Marvin Harrison Jr. today on a prominent scouting site.
Yeah.
And
was it the pleats? Did you have to take your pants back to the pants store after reading
we're
that?
Not going to go there. You both know I don't wear pants during the day when I broadcast. So Jamar Chase sat out that senior year. Remember that I didn't play and he still got drafted high. This write-up said that Harrison has a chance to be a superior prospect to Jamar Chase, which is just those are unthinkable expectations. And like his pro comps are, a better version of like AJ Brown. I mean, it's just his pro comp's not his dad. He's not his dad in terms of like his style of game. I mean, he's got some fits to his game. He's got some Megatron to his game. I mean, it's a generational kind of player. And that's why, we were chatting with Brad Spielberger of PFF earlier this week. And Brad was like, well, maybe they'll flip a high pick for a proven player and give him a contract. Not this offseason,
right.
Excuse me, not in 2024. Not when that's staring down 10, 15 years of Hall of Fame candidacy for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know, man. It feels like anything outside of the first overall pick, that's going to be the number one player on their board. It just has to be.
Remember how nasty Marvin Harrison Sr. was? And he was undersized. And Marvin Harrison Jr. has size. He's got physicality and athleticism. And he's scary, man.
They beat Georgia if they don't take him out. Ohio State does easily. Yeah. They beat Georgia. He's the best wide receiver prospect
since Megatron.
And Megatron went to Georgia Tech and flew a little bit under the radar. Chase was great, but we were robbed of that next year. He should have been allowed to go into the draft, and it was the COVID situation didn't help anything. But it's a generational.
You didn't know. I mean, that was such a stacked team, and I know Chase was the best receiver on that 20+ touchdowns for the Tigers. It was Joe Burrow, it was Justin Jefferson. You had Thaddeus Moss at tight end. You had,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire
before he fell out of favor in the NFL. I mean, it was one of the best, if not the best, college, especially on the offensive side of the football, like collections of talent we've ever seen.
You can make an argument that Jamar Chase's rookie year is like the greatest I've seen, most dominant by a rookie wide receiver and like carrying a team to the Super Bowl. So I think that's why the expectations for Marvin should be tempered, because that's an outlier, because he had Joe Burrow and the stars aligned that year. But like if the Cardinals draft Marvin Harrison Jr., whether it's with Caleb or with Kyler Murray, like I think the expectation is year one. I mean, you're looking at 1,200 yards, 8 to 10 touchdowns for a guy who is going to be the most plug and play player this franchise has had.
How tall was Marvin Harrison? Marvin Harrison was like barely 6 feet, wasn't he?
Yeah. Is his mom tall? Typically, though, sometimes you get your height from your grandpa. Like my dad is 6 foot. My father-in-law is 6 foot. So my kids are going to be tall. But my grandpa's, my late grandfather was like 5'4" when he died, and then my other grandpa, who's 9, he's gonna be 94, is like 5'3", and he's continued to shrink, a little Italian man, and so I'm 5'6" as a result. So sometimes it can be from a grandparent.
Yeah.
So we don't know if he's got a grandparent that's tall.
6'4", 205, 20 years old, be 21 next year.
I can't get excited about it.
Like we get lost in why?
Because I want it so bad.
You stick in the mud.
I need it for this team, and I don't want them to blow it. I want it to work out.
I mean, I want it way more than the people that want Caleb Williams. Like I want Marvin. I want to watch Marvin Harrison play on Sundays for this team. Because
you have Kyler Murray, and you've seen Kyler Murray light teams up. Like I like Hollywood Brown, and we're excited about Michael Wilson. Cardinals don't have a player of the caliber of Marvin Harrison Jr. That's not newsflash, but it's just Kyler Murray could end up being a much better pro than Caleb Williams. That's not a hot take. That Kyler could turn things around under Gannon and get healthy and be a stud for 5 years.
if you just look at mechanics, like Kyler Murray is way more mechanically sound than Caleb Williams.
I agree with that 100%. It's just the size and the ability to stay healthy. I mean, just to finish seasons. And again, that it's not a knock on K1. Those are facts. Daniel in the chat, 2024 is going to be the biggest draft in Cardinal history. Chicago, St. Louis, or Arizona, doesn't matter. We contend in 2024. I think it is going to be the biggest draft because we mentioned on yesterday's show, Daniel, that they're not done adding picks. They'll add more picks. They'll get more picks. They've got comp picks coming their way. And they've got money, so they don't need to trade for players next offseason to be able to add to the roster. They can go and buy whomever they want to buy. But, I mean, that just – and I think, they could trade up in the draft, use some of those day 3 picks. But, I mean, it would not surprise me. Right now they've got 2 firsts, a second, and 3 thirds. They've got 3 picks that are going to be top 100 picks. It would not surprise me if we get to the draft and they have like 5 or 6 top 100 picks. Yeah. It's going to be unbelievable.
Get Marvin Harrison to the Valley, get him to more furniture, have him deck out what he's going to be able to cash in with that sweet, sweet rookie contract. You can save up to 40% right now because of their 4th of July sale. Get over to morefurniture.com, shop right now, check out everything that they have. They've got special financing available for anybody. You can talk to somebody about custom order furniture, speak with a design consultant. And of course, when you do make that purchase, morefurniture.com, or you check out their store here, they've got Valley locations. You can take advantage of the white glove delivery because it's going to reach triple digits, going to reach 110. You don't want to have to be out there moving furniture around. I just bought a shed. This morning.
Oh, you did? You bought the shed?
Yeah, I got the shed, loaded it up in my truck. Of course, the friendly people over at Lowe's loaded it up. And then when I got it home, then I was SOL. I had no idea. And in 110-degree heat, I'm there moving this gigantic shed box that has a shed in it and all its pieces. And I'm straining. I'm basically tearing every ligament and muscle that I have left in my body, trying to move this from the front yard to the backyard. I wanted that sweet, sweet white glove delivery where they would have taken advantage of all the heavy lifting that I had to put in today for being the good husband and father that I am. Yeah, more furniture. Take advantage of it while you can.
Sorry about me.
Oh, yeah. White glove delivery. White glove delivery at morefurniture.com.
Reality is, according to Jalen, Cards need to leave 2024 draft with Marvin Harrison Jr., the best D tackle in the draft. I agree with a big asterisk.
Sign me up today.
Unless they have a number 1 pick. 100%, Jalen.
Yeah.
They need to also leave with membership to Octane Raceway and Maverick, because what are you doing if you're not hanging out right there, staying cool in the summer, playing virtual reality, doing a little axe throwing with our guy Howard Balzer, laser tag. They've got bowling. You want to bowl for free? My son's driving us nuts. He needs something to do. I'm taking him to Octane Raceway and Mavericks. School's out for the summer. God help us. But children 15 and under are eligible for 2 free games a day at Octane Raceway and Maverick. Grow the game of bowling. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. So is Octane Raceway and Maverick. You can bowl for free if you're a youngster under 15 through August 4th. So go nuts in July. Have a great time. Great food, drinks, arcade, tons of different events throughout the summer. Just a staple of Phoenix in the Valley. Check out OctaneRaceway.com, Maverick.com to learn more. I want to learn more. Go PHNX.com, though. Our guy Howard Balzer cranked out a banger of a new article. Where the hell is BJ Ojulari's contract? Howard Balzer tells us about that and more. Slam the promo code Howard, HOWARD, and Bo Brack. Become a diehard in the meantime.
Yeah, you're going to want to be a diehard come training camp. We're going to have exclusive content in the Discord, the member Discord. We'll be talking Cardinals football between now and then, just like the chat during live shows. The chat continues off air. Join us in the member Discord, but the only way to do that is to sign up at gophnx.com, phnxlocker.com, where when you do become a member, you get free swag from PHNX Locker, like our PHNX hats we got going on. We got all the great shirts, like this Coyotes one just over my shoulder, the Sun Devils one, give them a Hell Devils t-shirt. Anyone you like, any of the great Cardinals gear that we have in the PHNX Locker, you can get it for free just by becoming a diehard member today.
You love to see that. Everybody have a safe, happy, fun holiday weekend. We are back on a Monday. Want to hang out with you But in the meantime, like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. Follow us on Twitter, PHNX_Cardinals. Subscribe to the YouTube page. It's PHNX Sports. Just crossed 14,000 followers and climbing. He's Bo Brack, at Bo Brack. I'm Johnny Venerable. Have a great weekend.